Hello and welcome to episode 54 of the Randomer Nintendo podcast and the first episode of 2025. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
It
Yay.
is. Yep, just adjacent. Speaking of, it is I, your host, first host of the year, and you probably won't see me hosting until the end of the year.
What?
But yeah, it's I, Angel. And then we got the solo cheerer over there, Jason.
Yay. 2025. Yay. Hi.
And then we got the straight man of the group, Kevin.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, if this was a comedy, I guess you would be the straight man, maybe.
Kevin would absolutely be the straight man.
I think it'd probably be more Jason.
Actually, yeah, you'd be
Actually, no, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. You would be
Kevin would be like the deadpan.
Head. Yeah, you're just reacting to everything. Everything is just happening to Jason. But yeah. All right. Well, anyway, we were tangent aside. I guess we got some stuff on the docket. The
wow.
Okay.
You can tell no wonder this is your first and last hosting till the end of the year.
Yep. I'm going to try to digest and learn from. I mean, how many years have you been doing this?
I don't know. Since 2011. So 14 by the end of this year. 13 going on 14.
Wow.
That's crazy, 13. By the way. You would think that would include at least like 4 generations of Nintendo consoles, but it doesn't. It's only 2. It's only I guess the Wii. But you would think 14 years. Yeah. That would be like a lifetime.
Long way from more structured, I guess, hosting jobs where I actually read the docket, and this time I didn't. So we're all doing it live. So I guess we'll start with formalities. How have you guys been? How was your I guess holiday New Year's stuff?
Kevin,
yeah, how was that? Did you do anything?
I did not do anything. Which I probably wouldn't have it any other way. There was a point where I was going to start working from home. Like, I didn't really have any assignments to do aside from like the bare minimum that I do at work. But like I was trying to do something a little bit extra, so I have something to show for it when I went back to work, which was today actually. And I just said, you know what? No, I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to chill. It was like a nice needed break. Like earlier this year, I did have a break going to Spain with friend of the show Victor and Elvis, but at the same time, that's still like an itinerary that I have to do, and like we were going off a schedule. This was nice because I didn't have to worry about getting up early. I didn't have to worry about climbing up any steep mountains in the heat, in the cold. So yeah, it was nice. I just spent home. This is the first New Year's and Christmas that I've actually spent at home in like 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's nice that you got that reprieve from everything. Yeah. I mean, especially given some of the hours you have to work, it's really nice that you're able to like not have an itinerary, not have to be up at weird hours, and just like
exactly. So that was nice.
Nice.
Sounds good. What about you, Jason?
Not quite as like no itinerary as Kevin, but no, it was nice. I was in Utah for a week visiting family. Did go-karting on a track that is the closest I've seen to real life Mario Kart. It's a 3-level track indoors. The carts can go up to like 45 miles an hour. It's called The Grid, if anyone's in like Provo, Utah. But yeah, I was surprised. I got motion sick. Like we did 2 10-minute sessions. The first was okay, but the second I started to feel kind of queasy because like you're whipping around those turns. But it's cool because they like track all your times and they give you like a loadout via email of like how you did versus everyone else. And the carts have a boost button. It really is like Mario Kart minus, Mario Kart doesn't have a boost, but it has a mushroom. But yeah, so that was kind of fun. And just besides that, yeah, it was just relaxing. One thing that doesn't have a place on the docket that I just need to call out, and this I guess is the time to do it. There's a balloon at Super Nintendo World. Angel knows what I'm talking about because he saw it with me the other day when we were at City Walk here in LA. There's a balloon at Super Nintendo World. It's a question mark block. And 3 sides of it are a normal question mark block. And the 4th side is clear. And inside it is a mushroom that's separately floating in the block. And they move around kind of independent of each other. And it is the single best balloon I've ever seen. And I never thought I'd be able to say that sentence about a balloon or cared to say that sentence about a balloon. But it is an awesome balloon. and is worth going to Super Nintendo World for just the balloon. Yes, it's worth hundreds of dollars of airfare for just the balloon. Yeah. So that's what's new with me. just had to throw in the balloon. No, the balloon was like I'm still thinking about it like days later. It's really bizarre. I have a problem and I need help. But it's a cool balloon.
Yeah, you had quite the reaction to it. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a really cool design. I don't know if it's I don't know, maybe it's what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe it's just me, but I think like my reaction when I first saw that balloon was more like, oh, of course that exists. And that was it.
Mine was like, I can't believe this.
Like,
you know how like some people are like, oh, they have a moment where they like, see God.
Because it seemed like, I mean,
that's what it felt.
I mean, it's a brilliant design. Like it's almost like once you see it, it's like it's so obvious. Like, oh man, like this is the best kind of balloon you could have made for a Mario themed balloon. But I guess my initial reaction was just because I think overall I've been very positive on, just the theming and design of Super Nintendo World, that it just kind of became another new thing that reached that scale. Because I remember seeing these in droves when I went to Japan, I guess a couple months ago. Wow, which doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but I guess it also feels like it's been forever. But yeah, similar to you guys, just a lot of racing for me. I was hoping to get through my backlog, maybe beat Alien Isolation and Death Stranding and a bunch of other things. Did none of that. I did play more Tales of Symphonia, and that's pretty much it. I mean, one other thing that we'll talk about later on the show, but mainly sleeping. So, we're all getting some of that rest, except for Jason, who's been carting around, living the life.
Well, and just thinking about that balloon. Like, if I had to rank balloon... No, I'll spare you guys.
Yeah, Jason's top 10 balloons.
Here we go. Actually, all right, number 1, Macy's Day Parade. They don't get bigger or better. Number 2 through 10, this one at Super Nintendo.
Then why isn't that number 1 if they don't get bigger or better?
Bigger than the one at Macy's, yeah, during the Thanksgiving parade. Pikachu and Eevee on a bobsled, number 1 balloon. Grogu at the Macy's parade, number 2 balloon. This is the other 8 slots.
No.
I have nothing else to say this podcast. I have peaked with the balloon. It was great talking to you guys. I will now be logging off. Goodbye.
And I guess we'll go to what we were consuming then, because at the very least, some stuff was presumably consumed. At least it sounded like more things were consumed by both of you than by me. So I guess we'll start with, I'm just going to, I won't tell you what it's for, but pick a number between 1 and 6.
Kind of crap is that? I won't tell you what it's for.
Oh, well, I mean, it's a topic. I'm just not going to tell you, like...
He's ranking us against each other, Kevin. 1 through 6. Which one of us is the better friend?
I don't have a wheel. I don't have a...
I guess, yeah, I don't have a wheel from a wheel, I guess.
Yeah, I don't have a wheel to spin to pick the...
But the wheel's like a fun mental image. Number. The wheel's a fun mental image. A number is just abstract.
Well, we got a squabble, which I guess is kind of a game. So, I guess, yeah, let's talk about Squid Game 2.
I think
Squid Games or game?
It's game.
Well, it's written as Squid Game 2.
It is literally single. Did I write plural on the docket? I don't think I did.
Well, it's actually Squid Game 2?
Yeah, because I wasn't sure if we were going to talk about it, so I put a question mark. So, but yeah, I think Kevin, you and I both have seen Squid Game 2 all the way through, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what'd you think? Fine, you want me to start? Okay. So I watched. I don't know. I watched Squid Game 2, as did Kevin, and it's not Squid Game 1. Yeah, I don't know. I feel I enjoyed it, but it
you're killing me, Smalls.
I know.
Do you need to change topic?
No.
We just
I think, okay, more seriously, I think the thing with Squid Game 2, the underlying thing with Squid Game 2 that I wanted to bring up is Netflix needs to do fully rounded stories if they're going to call them seasons. Cobra Kai suffering the same thing. I enjoyed Squid Game 2. It's not Squid Game 1. It's a little, we can get to that. But this idea that they're going to call it Squid Game 2, and then later this year will be Squid Game 3, but in reality, they're 2 halves of one season with a cliffhanger, small spoiler. Just stop. doing that, Netflix. Like, there's some shows that do like.
So you're saying they should
seasons.
go the Attack on Titan route and call it Squid Game 2 Part 1.
Yes.
And then Squid Game 2
Yes, because
Part 2.
there's some shows that will split their
Unironically,
seasons.
yes.
Yeah, but there are some shows that will split their seasons, and they'll tell you it's split. And there's some shows that call it a season, and you know they film them back to back or whatever. But within that half season you're watching that's released, they still have story arcs that like reach some sort of conclusion. Like think about like if like a Lord of the Rings or like a movie trilogy or a Harry Potter. Like each of them is their own story, and yes, it continues to the next story, but because it's its own individually named or numbered thing, it has arcs that complete within that individual thing. Like the Two Towers is the middle Lord of the Rings, but it has stuff that concludes within that movie. You know what I mean? Or like Goblet of Fire from Harry Potter, like has the torment. There are characters that are introduced, and there are characters whose arcs come to an end, and then there's the next movie with different characters. Like just Squid Game just like stops, and Netflix is doing more and more of this, and it's driving me crazy. Well, not too crazy. Like I'm not up at night. I'm only up at night thinking about the Nintendo balloon, not about this. But it's definitely like not ideal. I feel like. I mean, I don't know if you felt the same way, Kevin, but definitely when it ended, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, if I guess the sour taste that everybody who saw the season, it wouldn't have been if their mouths if Netflix just came out and said like, hey, yeah, this is just part 1 of season 2, and you will get part 2 of season 2 in 2025, which is, it's already been confirmed. They already filmed it. I'm pretty sure it's already been edited. They just need to release the thing.
Yeah, and I think it's coming out like in the not too like it's not the end of 25. It's somewhere in the middle.
I think it leaked to be June.
Yeah, like a summer release, because I think they're then doing Stranger Things. Like, see, Stranger Things is a good example of how to do it correctly, because like Stranger Things 4 had like an arc. Stranger Things 5 will have an arc, but there's connective tissue, you know. But yeah, I think Squid Game's summer and Stranger Things is probably winter, if I had to guess.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what do you think? So, of ignoring the fact that they just kind of left us hanging, how did it compare to you to the original?
Like, let's say grading on a curve where season 1 is a 10 out of 10. It's not a 10 out of 10, but just saying sure. If it were a 10 out of 10, I'd still probably grade this like an 8. Like I
would agree.
I thought the highs were higher for me personally.
Okay.
And the lows were just a little bit lower. Actually, I think I'd give this a 9. Because I actually went to try and rewatch season 1, and for as much as I liked those characters, it just might be recency bias that I was like, man, I am not into the pacing of this season at all compared to season 2, quite honestly.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then aside from that, like, there's not really a lot of characters that you can get attached to in season 1, aside from like the main trio. And here they give you tons of characters to like actually care for. With player 222, there's that Marine character, of course. The internet's going crazy for player 120. And then Thanos. Like even. Thanos, I
actually really enjoy.
I'm a Thanos defender. Okay,
honestly, me too.
Thanos.
Initially, I was like, he's a bit much, but he really warmed up, and I was kind of like, he reminds me a lot. Not to make an SNL comparison, but Pete Davidson in one skit played like a rapper, and there's a skit where him and Timothy Chalamet were doing just like ad libs from raps. His whole song's like skirt, skirt, like all that. He reminds me of
I know
Pete Davidson playing that character, and for some reason, like the more I saw of Thanos, the more I'm like, all right, yeah, I like this guy. I like him. So I'm with you.
I appreciated that he just wasn't like a straight up psychopath. He was just under the influence of drugs.
And was just like enjoying everything, which was funny.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, I tried going back to season 1 and specifically the games of season 1. And like I said, it's probably has to do with recency bias that I wasn't digging the games or the characters as much as I was season 2.
Interesting.
I think the thing that makes season 2, a score lower than season 1 is the fact that this is just set up for a season 3.
Yeah, it feels very much like what they did with the bear, to be honest.
Exactly. I think the first season of this, the first episode of the season, specifically, I think is probably the best episode of Squid Games, quite honestly.
The last like 20 minutes of it, yeah.
Especially that entire scene, the rock paper scissors scene, it's like fantastic.
what a way to amp up that character who didn't have quite that intensive a role in the first season.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna spoil it, but you know what I mean. Yeah.
No, yeah, absolutely. Like I said, the thing that does drag it down is that ending, and not only that, but it's also kind of boring. Where
it's kind of for a long time.
Yeah,
like,
it's essentially a shootout that goes on for like 30 minutes.
Yeah. It kind of feels like
Spoiler alert. Sorry.
Yeah, we're gonna dip into light spoilers here for anyone who hasn't seen Squid Game 2 and cares. Please skip ahead. But yeah, the shootout kind of felt like, is it Austin Powers where I'm trying to remember what like spoof of an action movie it was where like the enemies just kept coming and like it became like a gag of like they never stop, and it's like it kind of felt like that a little. We're just like wave after wave after wave. But I think it was Austin
yeah,
Powers.
pretty much that is the last episode in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, I really enjoyed it. I can't wait for season 3 or season 2 part 2.
Yeah, I'm very curious
to see where the story ends.
I am very curious where some of the stuff is going, because like one of the big, I guess, without saying too much, one of the big things is about player one and what his role is and what he's doing versus and they kind of just like sort of just unceremoniously like pretend it didn't happen by the end almost. You know what I mean? Like they kind of just switch. Yeah, and I was like, oh, I guess that was just like not MacGuffin. That was just kind of
which I'm sure
they'll fill it out in season.
It'll
3,
come into play in season 3, sure,
100%. But it just felt very like, oh, well, I guess they're done with that. Okay, so yeah, but I do think to your point, some of the highs were higher. I really liked the back 20 minutes of the first episode. I actually really liked the merry-go-round game. It wasn't really a skill-based game like some of the other ones, but the visuals of it.
It was called Mingle.
Mingle, yeah. Some of the visuals when they were doing like the top-down camera and the spinning with the lights, like I thought was really cool. The cinematography, like the look of the show is still really good. I do think there's some weird pacing, like so the new thing in this season, I guess for your reference, Angel, is that between every round of the game, people are now allowed to vote. In season 1, I want to say they had to say, we want to vote. And they'll go, oh, okay. But in this one, they just always vote every round. And the amount of time they spend on watching people walk up to hit yes or no on a vote is a lot of time. It's not like some of it's riveting, like some of it's a little tense, some of it's a little less, but it's just like they dedicate like 15, 20 minutes every single time they vote. And it's just kind of like, yes, we've seen them press the buttons before. But so that kind of was a weird one to me. The only other thing, actually, no, you already covered how the ending was kind of just the shootout. I think, like, it's dumb, but the thing I thought of, because Squid Game made me think of, like, puns about Splatoon, and the thing I thought of after I watched the show, as much as this Splatoon comparison's stupid, it makes sense. Squid Game 2 is literally Splatoon 2. So Splatoon was like, here's a bunch of interesting ideas, right? And then you go do it. And then Splatoon 2 is like, well, we're just going to kind of, like, sort of do what we did with Splatoon 1. And then in the later part of Splatoon 2's life, maybe we'll introduce something new with with Octo Expansion. And then from there, we're going to get real interesting with Splatoon 3. Just wait. We just need this like in-between piece. That's what Squid Game 2 felt like. Like it was kind of like a reshuffling of sorts with some new ideas lightly of Squid Game 1 that clearly is going towards something bigger and more unique in Squid Game 3. But it's just kind of like in-between spot right now. And it was still fun to watch, but that's kind of how I felt. Like it felt like a stepping stone almost to whatever they're going to do to wrap it up for real. Sure. But yeah, I enjoyed it for the most part. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that's Squid Game. Angel, have you seen any Squid Games?
I wish.
No. You were saying you just watched the trailers. Is that what you said before we went to air?
I lied.
You didn't watch
think
the
I
trailers?
only saw like maybe part of the trailer. It was one of those things where the trailer started and then I just skipped it because,
I asked Elvis because I had just finished watching it. And I asked him, "Oh, did you ever watch season 1?" And you know what that dumbass said? He goes, "No, it was too mainstream for me." Like, shut up.
I mean, granted, it is the biggest show on the planet, but what?
I hate your brother so much, Angel.
I get what he means, though.
I get what he means, too, but, like, that has never stopped him from liking shit before.
He loves Batman.
Yeah, I think
and Ninja Turtles. They're mainstream.
It just has to be that much better that it just, like, breaks through the noise of it just being, like, blared at you everywhere. Like, I haven't seen it just because, I don't know. It feels like I've seen it. I don't know. I guess it just hasn't caught my attention enough to watch it. It seems like a show I would enjoy. Maybe one day I'll watch it.
I think you would absolutely like it.
Yeah, you'd like it.
But I think it's like one of those things where not I won't use it's too mainstream because that's not the core of the reason.
Do you
it's
feel
more
it's
like,
already oversaturated in your life?
I just feel like it's just not the right mood for it. Like I'm not craving that kind of show right now. Like sometimes you just know like when you're just like looking for a certain vibe or you're just ready to take on like another big show like that. Like I mean I watched Stranger Things season 1, 2, and 3, but I haven't seen 4 yet just because I just haven't gotten around to it. It's kind of just as simple as that, I guess.
We know one show you need to
and
make sure
sometimes
you
it's
watch.
worth it. Like I didn't watch Into the Spider-Verse for a good while until I just naturally got like the urge to just suddenly want to watch it, and it was perfect. I'm glad I watched it when I did. But yeah,
One show you need to watch,
What were you
Angel, and I know you will because you liked season 1. It comes out in 2 weeks. Severance season 2.
oh, I can't wait to watch it. However long from release, I watched season.
I can't wait to
1.
watch it when it releases, like a normal. No offense, but
I'm just kidding.
I'm very excited. For
I know. That one, is one that I love the first one. I just, I want to know where it goes next right away.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily want to wait for that one, but yeah, I'm gonna watch it with my brother-in-law. He's also very much looking forward to it. So
I'm
looking forward to that.
Jason,
I don't know if it's gonna be right away. It just happens also because we
Jason,
have Apple TV Plus right now.
Are you done talking Squid Games?
I was gonna say one. Yeah, I was gonna say something about Severance real fast, but yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
let me say a little something about Severance because that's actually the other show that that's on the docket.
Oh, welcome aboard!
Yeah,
I'm
took
very
advantage.
excited that you saw it.
Yeah, so I took advantage of Apple TV Plus's free weekend because I let it expire once Monarch was over, and I finally watched past episode 1 because I kept going back to episode 1 and I'm like watching it, and then for whatever reason I was like I'm not in the mood, just like Angel just mentioned, like I'm not in the mood for this. So then I would switch it off, and then a couple of months ago I tried going back, and once again saw episode 1. I was like, you know what, I'm not in the mood for this.
And it's a slow burn too, so you really have to like initially be in the mood.
Yeah,
I get that.
and
It took a while because you were talking it up too. But yeah, it just took a while. But I'm glad I waited. That's a perfect example of that.
Yeah, and finally I was like, you know what, I'm gonna bite the bullet. I'm gonna watch this entire thing, and I think I started the first episode almost like at 11 p.m. and watched all the way through like episode 6 until like 4 a.m.
Jeez.
But then I eventually finished the season. It was fine.
Oh no! As you were saying you watched it till 4 a.m. I was literally sitting here smiling and nodding to nobody, just like, yes, he's indoctrinating himself, yes. And then you flatlined it.
I'm sorry, Jason.
No,
So
that was really funny. That's fine.
So I've rated everything, every like media that I consumed, from like basically a 5-point system, but with halves in there.
Okay, yeah.
So
just do 10.
I mean, yeah, this is essentially, yeah. So for Severance, it was a 3 out of 5, or AKA a 6 out of 10. So like
technically better than average, so yay.
Technically better than average, but like, so here's some of my thoughts. So like, for one, I don't think the hype or acclaim got to me to where like I was expecting this amazing, like, perfect experience.
That was gonna be my first question.
Yeah, I think I overhyped what I thought this season was going to be about. So going into it, and even the first episode, I vaguely remembered how the first episode ended, but like going into this watch, I knew the basic premise going into it, right? With that first episode, the introduction of Helly, I assumed that the rest of the season was going to set up these characters' double lives, and it was just going to be a little bit more of an offbeat, dark, like, workplace comedy, obviously with the underlying mystery of what exactly Lumen Industry does. And then I get through the entire season, and by the last episode, I felt myself saying, man, this season of television would have made for an amazing season 2. And the reason I say that is because...
Interesting.
I don't really think this is a spoiler, but like, it's this at the end of episode 1, but the revelation of Petey, revealing to Mark's Audi and telling him, yo, I escaped Lumen with all my memories attached.
Right.
I think would have made like a killer like season finale cliffhanger that led into this season where the intrigue starts picking up. I don't like the fact that right off the bat, I know that Lumen is up to some shady stuff. If that makes sense.
It's interesting to me that like the number one thing I've always heard about Severance is people find it too slow, and you're like, actually, it was almost too fast. Like that's really
that's
really interesting. I get what you're saying. Yeah,
it didn't give you a chance to have intrigue, but yeah,
correct, because almost immediately it was like, this mystery is set up where, I kind of want to delve a little bit more into the characters, and I get with some of the characters, it would have ruined some of the revelations. Well, specifically, it would have ruined the Helly revelation.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, with Helly, you could argue that maybe they didn't really have to. She's the fish out of the water, so maybe we don't have to see her personal life immediately, and that was a revelation that you put into season 2. But like, aside from that, there was like some plot lines that I personally didn't really jive with, like. John Turturro's romance with a certain character felt a little forced too quickly for me. Like that sort of came out of nowhere. I don't
disagree with that. It was a little heavy-handed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then there's the character that helped out Petey. She's in and out for like an episode or two, and I'm sure we'll find out more of her in season 2. But to me, it was like, oh, you literally only introduced this character right now to kill off this other character who's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like my biggest issue with this season is Patricia Arquette. I can't stand the fake snobby, snooty accent that she does in this show, especially when she is Mrs. Selvig. And not even that, but even when she's Colby? I forgot which.
God, it's been a while since I watched it.
Something
like that. Yeah.
Cobalt. There we go. And even when she's Cobalt, like she has this like high and mighty bravado that she does in her dual roles. I couldn't stand that. No, absolutely. Actually, no. My biggest issue with the show is, funnily enough, the biggest plus that Madam Web has. And that is Adam Scott's hairstyle. Holy fuck, is his hair terrible in this. God damn. The only goddamn thing that Madam Web got right was giving Adam Scott that cool haircut with the beard. I don't need Mark in the show to look like Ben Wyatt, but goddamn, do they need to get rid of that long hair, that scruffy hair that goes over his shirt, almost like a mullet. You know who also has this problem? John Mulaney. John Mulaney has this problem too. John Mulaney needs a haircut as well.
John Mulaney has been slowly morphing into an early 1990s Seinfeld character and how he looks and dresses in the last 18 months or so. Ever since he got clean, and it's great he got clean. Ever since he got clean, something about how he dresses and look, like every episode, everybody's in LA, like he looked more and more like he fell out of 1993. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. Yeah.
Anyways, I know that my predominant issues with the show are my own doing, really. But I will probably continue watching this into season 2. It wet my whistle enough to make me think, to keep me interested. Yeah. My expectations now that my expectations have been set by what the season is, I can be like, okay, season 2 is in my mind going to be a season 3 without the baggage of me thinking, man, this season could have been a good season 2, if that makes sense. Excuse me.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I
think enough, there was one character that I loved in the show. And would either of you care to guess who?
I have a feeling. Let's see what Angel says. I have a feeling. But I'm curious if he has the same feeling. So I don't want to say it first. Angel, say it first.
The brother-in-law?
The brother-in-law, okay.
I was going to say...
his brother-in-law.
Oh, really? That's what you're going to say?
No, I'm saying, yeah, the brother-in-law. Rickon?
I forgot his name.
His name is Rickon, yeah.
Like the aspiring author guy, him?
Yeah.
I was going to say Milchick. I don't know why.
You got it right. Milchick.
I got it right?
I think Milchick's actor is amazing, and he doesn't nearly get enough credit for his performance. that music dance experience scene.
I was gonna say he hosts a great dance party.
10 out of 10 scene, even if it is kind of a ripoff of that dancing scene from Ex Machina. But that dude Milchek, his actor,
Milchek's the best.
Yeah, he loved that dude.
Also,
I don't love the character, but I love the performance.
Also, the way he does that, like that fake smile all the time.
I think it is.
Yeah.
The office manager, basically, Angel.
The black guy, Angel.
Yeah.
No, I got it from the manager.
Yeah. I'm still so annoyed. So
with the mustache
at Comic-Con a couple of years ago, they brought I think I talked about it on the show at the time. They recreated like the office in Severance in the hallways and stuff, and you could like go through it as like a whole experience. And literally, like 10 minutes before I got there, the entire cast went through. And apparently, the guy who plays Milchek was like having but like all of them were like, "Whoa, this is so cool!" It's like just like when we were on set, but like he was like, from what some of the staff were telling me when I was waiting in line, he was just hamming it up, especially because they do the dance party for everyone at Comic-Con that's going through it. Like there's this part where they do it, and he was just doing all the moves like in the show, and I was like, I can't believe I missed that. Like I was like 10 minutes behind him, but yeah, he really seems to have fun with the role for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Two things I was gonna say. One, a season 2, from my understanding, I know very little. I haven't even watched the trailers because I like don't want to know too much. But the one thing I did hear is they do dive a bit more into like the story of each character a bit, which is kind of what I think you almost wanted from the season 1 that became the season 2 in your mind. So they're kind of doing it backwards, but there's gonna be a little more of that apparently. And the other thing I was going to say is this, the way you were saying how you sort of built it up in your head before you watched it. See, guys, this is why you shouldn't wait to watch a show. You should just watch it when it airs because you don't get a chance to build it up because you're experiencing it in real time before people can start sharing opinions on the
that's
internet.
Exactly why I waited. Like on top of like waiting for the right mood, I also, depending on the show, if it's a show I know I want to watch when it comes out, then yeah, I'll watch it when it comes out. But if it's a show I know I want to watch but know I won't have time, sometimes I want to wait, especially if it blows up like this or some other things. Like I like waiting for like the conversation to die down. That way, any lingering expectations that I do have, because even if they typically don't ruin something for me, they can have some kind of influence. Like
That's fair, I guess.
Like I honestly, when I eventually saw Severance, I felt like I had absolutely no idea what it was about, what people even thought about it. The only frame of reference was that you really liked it, but your taste in shows is so...
I'm scared of what you're about to say.
But your taste of shows is very much different from what Angel consumes.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, you watch like things that are all over the place, like that I'm like, oh, they're very different, but like... Yeah, that I had no idea what to expect. Like, so there was no bar.
But see, you yourself are admitting it. You went into the show as if you didn't know. You went into the show with no discourse around because you purposely avoid the discourse, which is the same as going into the show as it airs before there is a chance for it.
Yeah, but that's hard to do when like around the time it came out, when like coworkers and everybody's like talking about it.
It was a slow burn. I feel like only after the season finale did it really start picking up momentum and interest. Like it was not very talked about the first month or so. Because I remember I was watching it, and I'm like, is anyone else even aware this thing exists? Like, what? Same with Mr. Robot. I guess, that one, I started day one.
Social circles
maybe.
Have different things they talk about. Yeah.
True.
I also want to point out the fact that, like I said, it wasn't the hype that ruined.
It was your own expectation.
It was my own expectations of that first like half hour, I would say.
That's fair. Okay. Yeah. Good point.
So.
Yeah, excited for season 2. I rarely do this, but Rach and I are talking about rewatching season 1 in preparation for season 2 because it's been it came out like 2021, so it's been or 2, so it's been a while. So I'm actually rewatch it, which for me is very rare to do. Clock's ticking. I only have like 11 days to rewatch it, but I think we're gonna try and do a rewatch.
Same.
Yeah.
I guess I was gonna say that doesn't sound too dissimilar to how I feel like the first third of the wild robot, like the movie felt like it was gonna go in one direction just based on everything that was happening, but then it just kind of went in a different one. Emotionally for me, that I was just kind of left like, I guess, kind of disappointed, or just like, it didn't deliver. But it is what it is. But yeah, so that was the TV show Kevin watched, Severance.
Plural.
That was the
Squid Game
TV
and
show.
Severance. All the S shows.
Well, let's see. Let's do, I guess, something we all watch together and just kind of throw it into
More
a whole
S.
Sonic thing, because there's a lot of Sonic this time around. So yeah, just go right into Sonic the Hedgehog 3, aka Mufasa's rival.
AKA the movie that defeated Mufasa.
Did I watch that during the break?
You watched it with
Did
us.
You watch that? But I don't remember.
You watched
I don't
it.
remember,
It was like Sunday the 20th or something.
Break.
It was the Sunday before Christmas.
The Sunday before Christmas? Okay, so
Yeah.
technically it was on break. The 22nd.
And it was 22nd, and it was in 4DX. And
oh boy.
yeah. That
Every single time that I say maybe this is the time that I'll enjoy 4DX, and like within the first 3 minutes, I'm like, nope, I still do not like watching movies like this.
the one movie where it really fits.
If anything,
is
are you getting
Twisters.
like yep, this is the last time I'm watching a movie in 4DX.
I'm gonna say
then go
that,
back
and then
to
at some point I'm gonna watch like Superman in 4DX or something. Watch, it's just gonna happen.
It's gonna
If
feel
anything,
like
I just have to
Superdog's dragging you out of the snow.
It's probable.
If anything, I have to make sure that my first time watching a movie isn't in 4DX, because I saw Endgame in regular IMAX, and then I saw it in 4DX, and then I saw the Suicide Squad on like HBO Max when it launched, and then in 4DX with your brother.
Yeah, I think 4DX as a second screening is typically good, which is what it is for Sonic. Sorry guys, I mean I know that was your first Sonic screening, but yeah, Sonic 3, the third one. They've been pumping these out every 2 years,
And they're gonna keep going. You know that joke in Deadpool about how they're gonna make Hugh Jackman do Wolverine till he's 90? That's Ben Schwartz with Sonic, probably by choice, because he absolutely loves the role and is very good at it. So I don't blame him. But yeah, I thought it was fun. It was a nice send up to like.
Will he come back?
Well, supposedly he said he's open to it. I do like how in every not big spoiler.
I guess he has said that. I guess he has said that he wasn't going to come back after each movie, so they kind of.
Well, he said he just does. Yeah, exactly. That's what Beth says. I do love how in every Sonic movie they have to write it as if Jim Carrey won't come back, only for him to go, "Yeah, I'll take the additional money. Sure, let's do it."
Yeah, especially more so in this one, like the way the last one ended, and then they don't even like try like to even like rush it. It's just like, oh, yep, he's back. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, it's very like it's interesting because these movies are very like serialized compared to some. Like it feels like you're just watching episodes in a series versus like, you know what I mean, versus like actual like movie completely separate movies, if that makes sense. Like it feels like a TV show you go to the movies to watch. It just has really good production value. I don't know how better to describe
like
that.
A tight trilogy?
No, like
so
I mean, like if they kept doing more Sonic.
Like
no. I mean, like if they kept doing more Sonics, it just kind of feels like I'm watching, and not in a negative way, but just like, oh, another episode of like Sonic's Little Adventures versus like to compare it to Lord of the Rings because you randomly evoked that, or Harry Potter or something where it feels like there's like an end point. Like they kind of tell you early on, oh, there's this bigger thing they're trying to achieve. This one's like Fast and Furious. It's just like, oh yeah, just another one. Let's do it. Sure. Like Fast and Furious is kind of serialized in a similar way. But yeah, I thought it was really fun. It was really cool to like. So the first Sonic game I owned, because I was a Nintendo guy through and still am, was Sonic Adventure 2 Battle on the GameCube. So it's kind of cool to see like all the homages to like the Dreamcast and I guess GameCube and Xbox era of Sonic. Like that was fun. I've obviously played the Genesis games a bunch, but it's cool to like see stuff referencing the first one I owned. Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think of it? Like how would you rate it against like the other two?
I mean, overall, I enjoyed it. I love that they're just, I guess the movie is making enough money that they could put more time to Sonic and Co. and less on the people plot. Like, you know, I think the thing that's always referenced for the second movie is the whole wedding side plot that, like, realistically just feels like they just couldn't animate Sonic for a while, so they just cut to this whole thing that didn't really need to happen. But you know, it was still fine. And that was obviously much less than what the first one did. Because, you know, it was just
the first one was just a
much slower
movie. Yeah.
origin movie.
Yeah.
Which, you know, was fine for what it was. Like, and I do like that it feels like they know what they are. Like, you know, they're mainly aimed for kids. So they're just 100% not meant to be taken seriously. And, yeah, you know, obviously I could nitpick this movie to hell, but...
But let's instead highlight what's cool about it. I thought the millisecond Sonic Heroes pose was cool. I thought the reference to the first line of Sonic Adventure 2 when they jump out of the helicopter, like the verbatim, was cool. I thought the BioLizard like nod was cool. I thought the final like 15 minutes where it basically became like an anime like Dragon Ball Z or something was cool. Like, yeah, I feel like it's not a perfect movie, but they know what it is. They know what works. And to the point that I was trying to make about being almost like a serialized TV show, they're leaning in on the characters and the scenarios that like they're more and more getting confident and comfortable that yes, Sonic the Hedgehog's the lead. His band of friends are the co-stars. The humans are secondary. Put them in crazier and bigger and more insane scenarios and just see how it plays out, so to speak. And yeah, I think there's a confidence to this one that was also in the second a little, where it's just like, you know, the first one was like, we're doing an adaptation of a video game. The second one's like, okay, we can like just full on do the source material of the video game. And the third one's like, we're just doing the video game. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it just feels like they're just leaning all the way in, and that makes it more like it has a comfort to what it's doing. Like,
I
a
wouldn't say
confidence
all
to
the
what
way
it's
in,
doing.
but at least in a way that I appreciate that they did for a movie. Because I was starting to wonder, like, man, like how much of the Sonic Adventure 2 lore they're actually going to adapt, or are they going to get into like I figured they wouldn't get into like the nitty gritty of like the BioLizard or Shadow's true origin, which, you know, they
Or
still
just
kind of
straight up
left.
shooting Maria.
Yeah, or that.
Oh, yeah.
Although, here's something I really like they did. They gave Shadow's skates kind of purpose with the scene with Maria where they're rollerblading around. And I was like, oh, he's not just wearing random rollerblades. Like, it's because of that. Like, that was nice. That was like some nice building on top of Sonic lore that wasn't there before. Right? Because the skates were never explained before. He just had them, right? Like the power skate things.
It looked like,
yeah. So I thought that was a cool
he also
touch.
just had there from the beginning.
Yeah, but I mean, like making them part of his like Maria thing and why he like, yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was a nice touch to kind of give him some reason.
I'm just saying they should have killed Maria. They should have shot Maria. I know it would have been a really bad look in modern America, but
yeah,
that is what the fans wanted.
Oh man,
the fans wanted a girl at point blank shot. Like, come
they
on,
had the memes ready.
One job, Sega Sammy Corp.
Wild as soon as the little girl gets shot.
Never mind the live and
back
learn
with the-
needle drop. It's a girl getting shot. Yeah, that's what the crowd's there for.
Yeah.
But yeah, I even like obviously
great.
some stuff they couldn't fully, like the Chow Garden, like that felt like there were still pieces. Like, I'm not saying they were, like I said, they leaned all the way in, but there were still pieces where like, oh, they had to do it for a movie. Like the Chow Garden was clearly like a movie-fied, like, oh, well, we're not going to have an actual Chow Garden. Well, if it's a Chuck E. Cheese, sort of, or like a mascot cafe in Japan, great, we'll do that. And fans will be like, oh, Chow Garden. So there's still a little of that sort of like, we're adapting it for the movies. But for the most part, it feels more and more like it's just Sonic. It's not a movie based on Sonic. It's just Sonic.
Although I hope that doesn't mean that and I'm sure like they can, you know, because I'm looking at the Chow and thinking like, man, if they really wanted to, that could easily be like their, for lack of a better term, like Minions equivalent. If they just want to like
100%,
market, like an army of little cute thingies. But I'm hoping like, you know, making them this Tokyo franchise Chuck E. Cheese thing like doesn't mean that they can't do a whole Chow story, because the Chows are kind of like a big aspect of the first Sonic adventure. If they ever try to do the whole chaos story route, I mean, there's obviously a lot of things they can do, and I'm sure, which is actually part of my point of what I enjoyed about this movie, that they just kept it simple. Like, you know, they didn't go into the whole like, oh, Shadow's creator Joe Robotnik made him because he wanted to find a cure for Maria, who's like terminally ill, and made a deal with like some demon in space to create Shadow, instead of here Shadow's just, you know, alien from asteroid who's powerful, just is, and they just, you know, keep it simple.
By the way, real
Just
quick, can you imagine 1993, Sonic comes out, you're playing Sonic, and in the Genesis game, that backstory exists? Like, oh, it's the guy trying to help. Oh, well, okay, I guess you can't imagine. You youngin'. Yeah, but just the idea of, like, Sonic being, oh, it's just this, like, cool version of Mario that runs instead of jumps, and, like, he has attitude to being like, oh, well, he's trying to save the girl from a terminal illness, so he makes a deal with a demon alien, and it's just, like, it's so crazy how the story's evolved in that franchise.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's also go ahead.
It's kind of cool seeing how like Mario and Sonic like just living in these lanes that they've so like set on, and and they're both like running these lanes really well. And Mario keeps it even more simple in his own way.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess as far as specifically like video game, movies, I guess do any of the Sonic movies like rank up there for you? Is Mario just forever going to be number one until the next Mario movie comes out for you?
For me, personally,
Yeah.
I mean Mario holds a soft spot. I have a rose tinted glasses for Mario. There's no way I won't hold it at number one. It's interesting because as it's funny, I was saying as Sonic feels more and more like just Sonic and less like adaptations of Sonic. It's also like I'm not growing more distant from it. No, not quite, but like I don't know.
Because they're going to get to a game you haven't played or have less of a connection with.
Well, no, I mean, and it's also really interesting that they're ping-ponging around. Like, they went from Sonic 2 and 3 in the last movie to the Dreamcast and GameCube games. And then they're like, spoiler alert for the post-credit scene, skip about 20 seconds if you're listening and haven't seen it yet. And then they're jumping backwards to Sonic CD with Metal Sonic and Amy. That's kind of interesting. And then they're probably going to leapfrog forward again. Like, the path they're going through
it could
these
be
games
Sonic
is very...
Adventure. Metal Sonic was also there.
Yeah, I mean, but either way, they're going backward. I assumed it was Sonic CD because that's where both characters were introduced, but you could be right.
Yeah. Well, the design is definitely Sonic Adventure.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. And Amy.
Just wait until Sonic the Hedgehog 5.
And Amy, of course.
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah, or like,
Amy
I don't know what they do
on CD.
Yeah, or they couldn't do like Unleashed or something.
Oh, man,
Sonic 06. Sonic 06. Well, they dabbled in some of that era. I mean, even the Sonic and his motorcycle and gun. I mean, Shadow and his motorcycle and gun from Shadow the Hedgehog made. And I didn't know this. The director,
the Kira slide going up the Tokyo Tower was like one of the coolest things.
It was so cool, and it was really cool. And I was watching, I think it was an interview with Ben Schwartz somewhere, and he basically was like, "Yeah, that Kira slide is so cool." Like even he was like, "It is so cool." What was I gonna say? But yeah, I didn't know the director Jeff Fowler. Of all these Sonic movies, also directed some of the cut scenes for Shadow the Hedgehog. Like the game. Really? Yeah. Or had somebody, I don't know if he directed them or what. He was heavily involved in the cut scenes of Shadow the Hedgehog.
He was in the room.
No, I think he either rendered them or directed them. He had some creative direction involved in them. But yeah, he cut his teeth doing stuff like that and then got to do the movies. So like it's coming from a real fan of the franchise. But what was I starting to say? Yeah, I won't say I'm not losing interest, but it does seem like with the Sonic movies, it's just like, oh yeah, it's just a Sonic story. Versus before, it was like, oh, let's see what they do with the Sonic video game as a movie. And now it's just like, oh yeah, now it's just Sonic. So I'm still enjoying them and still watching them, but I kind of don't, I almost don't really view them as like game adaptations. I view them as, it's just Sonic. Like it's so comfortable in its Sonic skin, while the Mario movie still was like Mario as a movie. So I'm curious, to your point, when they do the second Mario movie, or when they do the Zelda movie or what have you, what I'm going to think at that. Like, are they going to start to be like, oh, it's just Mario? Or is it still going to be like, well, this is all these nods and references and winks and stuff to Mario games in a movie adaptation? Because Sonic is now, to me, almost surpassed the, like, adaptation mindset. I'm just like, oh, yeah, it's just Sonic. Like, here's all these little things they're doing. Like, I listed, like, the Bio Lizard and the Sonic Heroes pose and whatnot. But I'm just watching Sonic as like a thing, and it's just in this form versus an adaptation, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm curious. Like, I almost feel like Sonic's identity is just like a character.
I get what you're saying, but I still don't see it that way. But
okay, that's fair. No, that's fair. That's fair.
But I know that's a lot to do with like, I guess how much we play like the Sonic games in particular.
Yeah,
or I guess our personal connection with the Sonic franchise.
Mm-hmm. Because I've had like a handful of Sonic games, but I've always been more on the Nintendo side. So anything Nintendo puts out, I'm going to be like, oh, how's this compare to the game? This is clearly not the game. But the Sonic stuff is starting to blur a little, where I'm just like, I know it's based on a game, but like the vibe is right that I could just say this is Sonic, period. So.
Yeah, no, and that makes sense, like based on what I know you've played.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, because like, I mean, honestly, like this is probably, we're getting to the point where probably the vast majority of people, like we're even starting to potentially fall off of Sonic, where a lot of people stop playing, because even the people that I know that love Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 maybe played Heroes, some played Shadow, and then that was kind of like where a lot of them fell off, and the ones that were obsessed with it kept going.
Which, if we're being honest, is a great place to fall off, because immediately after Shadow,
weird.
Sonic 06.
You know what? But then if you stick with it, you know, you do.
Yeah, if you stick with
go
it,
through the Sonic cycle.
sick,
There are some
dude.
treasures in there.
You play one good game out of 10 games after Sonic 06. You get to play Sonic Colors and a bunch of slop afterwards.
Lost World wasn't
Sonic
bad.
Unleashed was somewhat good.
I don't know about where Hedgehog,
Parts of it,
but
it led to Sonic Generations, which is good. Which, you know, obviously is
Okay, Sonic
going
Generations.
back to everything.
Okay, I'll give you Sonic Generations. I'll give you Colors and Generations.
and the DS ones are pretty good.
Yeah, and I was about to say, like, and on top of that, like, while the console games were definitely very hit or miss, and mostly say miss in like, for the following decade,
Mostly misses, yeah.
yeah, like I would say Sonic's handheld line was pretty solid. Like the Sonic Advance games on Game Boy Advance
absolutely.
were all
Oh,
really
100%.
fun.
Sonic Rush as well.
Yeah, Sonic Rush
And
1 and 2.
Yeah, to be clear,
Sonic
I'm talking
Colors,
3D. I'm talking the
yeah,
3D.
yeah, 3D
Yeah.
Sonic always kind of stuttered. Yeah,
The boost generation, as it's called,
Yeah.
where
yeah.
where you just boost through everything. I saw,
Yeah, and it was
I saw a
mostly
video.
Or go ahead.
I saw a video of a guy trying to beat every 3D Sonic game within a week, and
Oh god.
he did it. I was talking to his sanity. I think he said that Unleashed was like his least favorite one to play, like even more than 06.
Yeah, I've heard it can be very tedious
But
at some point.
man, Forces, you can just boost your way through that game, just completely.
I
is
still
wild.
think Forces. I still think Forces, like Sega was smart at what, like, so I feel like Forces was at the lull of Sonic, like the lowest point of Sonic when like the Sonic Cycle was the most meme thing. The Sonic Cycle is kind of dead now. Like you don't really hear about the Sonic Cycle like you did a few years ago. But I feel like Forces was Sega trying so hard to make, like, okay, core Sonic fans, we want you all in on this. We want you to come back. You can be a hedgehog of your choosing. You know that meme
Your
you guys
OC
do where you
is
make a
canon now.
Exactly. This was like the Sonic game for like the diehard core fans because that's all they had at that low point in the series. And then ever since then, basically since they did the movie adaptation, Sonic's just been on the up and up and is now probably the biggest it's been since the 90s, right? Like Sonic is like $1 billion movie franchise.
Between this movie coming out and to kind of like segue a little bit, Sonic and Shadow Generations like coming out and pretty much like getting like really positive reviews all around. I did
and
play it
selling
and
pretty
beat it
well
myself,
too,
actually.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Shadow Generations part is really, really great. You get a bunch of levels that you wish were in the original Sonic Generations, but I'm glad they waited because they had a lot of time to. This is like kind of like what we always want Sega to do with these Sonic games. Like a lot of these 3D Sonic games, while some of them have a bunch of issues, there is always like a shred or like a good core idea that's like, man, if they just made a direct sequel to this one, it could be amazing. Like Sonic Lost World, if they made a sequel to that, they could have probably had like a really, really, really amazing game on their hand. The first one was like fine to good. I don't remember. But yeah, this one just builds on top of Sonic Generations, makes the levels crazier. Because they can. Shadow now has a bunch of new core abilities. He has wings, he has spears, he could turn to a squid like an inkling, almost exactly like an inkling.
Oh, really? I didn't know about that. Huh.
Yeah, like on puddles of toxic sludge, he could just turn to like an octopus and just kind of like go up walls and stuff.
We really are talking about Squid Games today, aren't we?
But you can also get like crazy great, metal remixes of some of the Sonic Adventure tracks. You get to fight the Bio Lizard in 2025 with a reimagined boss fight of sorts. Just really cool stuff, but also really short. It took me maybe 5 hours to beat about.
It very much feels like the Bowser's Fury of Sonic
it's almost exactly like the Bowser's Fury because you also have like a giant hub world. Just like
wait,
Bowser's
really?
Fury.
I didn't think it'd be that one. That's funny.
But instead of like each section of it being like its own level, like you're just walking, you jump to an island and bam, you're in Cat Lighthouse Island or something. Like this one, they're just like bits and pieces of like levels well, not even levels, just like obstacles and hurdles, and basically you could zip around as if it's like an open world, but you kind of have to figure out how to traverse them to get to the levels. Almost like a just imagine if Peach's Castle from Mario 64 was opened up, like literally out in the open, and you just have to like find a way to get to each of the doors with the stars. And every time you beat a couple levels, you go through a boss door, get the key, rinse and repeat twice, and you get to the end, which was really really cool. You could tell they definitely put a lot of effort into making this one very over the top, and it, I guess the story takes place during Sonic Generation, so it kind of intertwines with it a little. But yeah, definitely recommend it. John, Sonic Generations is still fun, the original one, but you could definitely feel its age just compared directly to Shadow Generations. Yeah, or at the very least, play that first level. Damn, like it's a nice showcase of like, whoa, this is like modern Sonic, but it's not Sonic. But yeah, especially if you like Doctor Strange, you get a lot of
Oh,
crazy visual effects that you don't really get to see often in any Sonic game. But speaking of more Sonic games, Sonic's in Topgolf apparently.
he is. But real quick on the Shadow Generation front, I just gotta say, like this, I think of like this is a good example of Sega like figuring out what to do with Sonic, because like I was saying, Forces was like them trying to play to the base,
Nostalgia.
the dwindling base, and this one, it's not just nostalgia, it's synergy with the movie. It's
Oh yeah, there was literally a movie level.
yeah,
Like you're just like you're running around, and then there's like a ring, and it's like you jump in and you're in Tokyo, and now you get to play through essentially the scene that I guess like Shadow causing the ruckus. Like you basically create the destruction that
the movie
Sonic and
then.
friends run into in the city. So you almost get like
That's
a deleted scene,
that's
which
cool.
is kind of cool.
Yeah, and then to your point about
I was like, huh.
Topgolf, they launched that like a month before the movie. Like Sega Sammy Corp. I don't know why I'm saying their full name, but they have figured out how to
That's my
manage
father's name.
Sonic in the modern era. There was a very little bit there where they had no idea what they were doing, I feel like, but they figured it out, and they're being rewarded handsomely with like Sonic's huge now. But yes, he is at Topgolf, which I was not expecting. So when I was in Utah, we went to the Topgolf near where who we were staying with lives, and lo and behold, I walk in, there's Sonic's face on the wall, and I'm like, why is he on the wall? And it turns out they have a version of Topgolf where you're basically doing like a Sonic thing. So I don't remember. Did we talk about Topgolf after we went for my birthday last year here on the podcast? Like the three of us? Did we talk about it? I don't recall.
I don't think we did.
Okay.
It's
So
possible.
it's like, for those who haven't been to Topgolf, it's like bowling, but for golf, but for a driving range, which is fun. But the thing that's kind of cool about it is they could track your ball, they could track the momentum of it, your swing and everything. And then instead of just having normal like driving range activities with just normal scores, they have all these other modes that kind of like turn you golfing or you swinging and the ball and where it goes into like a control mechanism for different games. So there's one that's called like Block Party, where basically you swing and anywhere the ball bounces or rolls, you get points. If you get into certain targets that are out on the grass, like in real life, um, those get you more points. That's pretty. It's basically Monkey Target, but with golf. But then they kind of evolved that, and there's like an Angry Birds mode, and they kind of recreate like, oh, you swinging the ball is kind of like you launching the bird into the pigs, and each target out in the grass actually represents a tower in the virtual version that you see on the screen next to you, and you can knock the pigs off, whatever. So it's kind of a neat way to like turn your body doing these drives into a control mechanism. And then Sonic does that both well and not well. So how it basically works is each target has different animations that trigger. So you get 4 turns, as one is per round. So your Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy. Each swing is one of the 4 of them. When you swing, the animation on the screen is represented by them doing their spin dash. So you're actually launching their spin dash, which is kind of fun. And depending on which target you land, that triggers one of different animations that play out where Sonic's running through a loop or whatever and getting different number of rings. You can also collect some loose rings that are on the green if you happen to sort of roll the ball towards a target. And you also, and this is what I think is different from the Angry Birds one even, you also have some random enemies just out on the field that will appear. So you can choose to go for a target, or you can choose to try and bop an enemy with your spin dash, aka hit the ball in a certain spot, and then have it bounce from there to the nearest marked target out on the grass, which then becomes the animation. And that's all kind of cool because it's not just the painted things on the grass that you're aiming for. There's like dynamic things, enemies that move, like the little crab guys and stuff. They can try and hit based on what you see on the screen, and you kind of like match it to where it would be in real physical life. But then where it gets a little weird is the animations just kind of go crazy. So if you get a ball near a target, sometimes they'll just be like, oh, you're close enough, and they'll give you the animation, but with maybe fewer rings. Sometimes they'll be like, actually, you know what? We're going to bounce you to a different target because you already got this target. So the animation literally like floats your ball, like Sonic hits a spring or one of those jump pads to another target where the animation plays out. Obviously, the ball in real life isn't going anywhere, but you see it on screen. So you like maybe you land in orange, and that's like, actually, we're going to ping pong you over to pink, and then you get that animation instead. And as nice as it is to see all the different animations, I kind of felt like it was taking away a little bit of the like reality of what you were doing. Cause like, yes, your swing and your ball is the controls for the game, but it's kind of like the game, to your point about like the boost era, Kevin, where you kind of just like the game just kind of runs and you just kind of go through, you don't really have to do anything. It feels like you swing and then the game just like, yeah, we got it from here, and just like gives you a bunch of coins at some target you weren't near because it just like felt like it. And I couldn't figure out like what triggered certain targets to be animated from the one I landed on. Like, why did it go there versus somewhere else? So that was kind of odd. Like, it almost felt more like just random animations at one point, even though like it was very well themed and there were the little touches like enemies walking around. But for the and there's 2 rounds total, so you have 4 characters. Each person does the 4. It's set in Green Hills, and there's a second one set in a cloud. I forgot what it's called, cloud something. And that's a whole different set of like ring animations, a whole different set of layouts, a whole different set of like things you can do depending on which target you land on, different enemies. So there is variety in that sense, but it definitely was a little weird to have it just like take the reins from you at a certain point. Like, even if you land the ball and it rolls through one target and into the grass or the green and then to another target, like if you do kind of like a ground ball, so to speak, the animation only decides the first target matters, and then it will do whatever it's going to do, whether it bounces you off a jump thing to another one or not. So it definitely felt like, maybe in the way that you're saying the movie's kind of like a kid's movie, this definitely felt more like kid friendly, where it's just like, hey, things are going to happen. It's going to be colorful. It's going to be fun. You're going to get rings. You're going to save animals. It's going to be great. But it definitely felt like I wasn't in as much control of it, even understanding it's a digital thing that's based on your swing. Like, it feels like the swing and where you land actually didn't matter a whole lot. And maybe I just need to play it more to learn the like deeper, the meta of Topgolf Sonic. But it felt a little like, just look at the pretty things happen, and look, there goes Sonic. Don't you love Sonic? Oh, and there goes Knuckles. Don't you love Knuckles? Yay, you got rings. So yeah, I feel like maybe I'll go back and try and understand it better, but it was fun, and it was like very Sonic, well themed, and the animations are good. They're actually using, I think, the Generations like assets, so like it looked really nice. But yeah, it definitely felt like at some point it just played itself, which is ironic given that's been a critique of Sonic games in general. But yeah, so that was Sonic at Topgolf. Like, I enjoyed doing it. Like, it was really cool to get to experience it, but I was definitely like, oh, this is like half a game and half me just triggering some random cinematic. So, which again kind of speaks to what the Sonic game experience often was at one point. So yeah. So that's Sonic at Topgolf. I'd say check it out if you're a Sonic fan, just to like see it and maybe understand it better than I did. But yeah, it wasn't like as monumentally groundbreaking or as tightly integrated as I thought it might be.
Yeah, who knew we'd have so much to say about Sonic since the last time we recorded?
I know, right?
Pretty much all of it being very positive.
Yeah.
So,
it's funny.
I mean, then again, I don't think we've ever really badmouthed Sonic.
Not too much.
I thought we would have.
Oh, I'm
we
the
poke
ultimate
at the
Sonic
game.
hater.
Yeah.
We definitely, like, Kevin aside, you and Angel have definitely poked at some of it. I feel like, Angel, you're the most positive. I'm kind of more neutral.
Well, yeah, but I can't think
Kevin's
of
the negative.
I can't think of how often Sonic even comes up at all, unless like it's a game that one of us played that
Right. Yeah.
we enjoyed.
That's a fair point.
Oh yeah. I'm sure Kevin has enough material to rip Sonic a new one, but I don't know. If that's
And Kevin, this is your chance. Go. No.
No,
Yeah, it can't be too positive.
no. I already called the decade and a half after Sonic 06 to be nothing but, Sonic Slop. So I'll leave it there.
Well, let's keep the momentum going then with Kevin. Tell us about Marvel Rivals.
Oh man.
Correct me if I'm wrong. You do not. Didn't you say last episode you didn't like it?
Hell yeah, I don't like this game. If I wasn't being contrarian enough with my
with your
my
Sonic
Severance sake.
No,
my
your
Is it
Severance
like
sake.
a League of Legends such situation where people say they hate it but they still play it religiously?
No. Yeah, I really don't like this game. And to be clear, I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm just saying that I don't like it. But I'm also saying that I think it's a bad game. Before I get into the discourse surrounding this game, and maybe I don't even get there, there's just a lot of aspects of this game that I think are poorly implemented or just straight up not there, which is wild for a game in 2025. I know this released last year, but it was at the tail end of it, so I'm going to consider it a 2025
also,
release.
Good for you to just instinctively know to say 2025. I still think it's 2024 in my head because we're only like 6 days in, so props to you for knowing.
Before that, what is Marvel Rivals? It's a 66 objective-based hero shooter. I guess hero/villain shooter. Basically, third-person Overwatch with Marvel heroes and villains that make up the roster. You've got, your capture the point type maps. You've got the push the objective type maps. Then you've got the hybrid maps that combine both type of maps. Some characters feel like just a straight up amalgamation of like Overwatch characters. For instance, Star-Lord's in this game. His guns fire like Tracer does. He has an ability that mirrors Reaper's ultimate. He can fly like Echo, and like his ultimate is auto aim just like Soldier 76's. So he's just straight up 4 characters in one. But that's honestly like the edge case. Most characters do feel original and have totally unique kits to them. My problems with this game have to do with everything related to actually playing the game. For one, I think the sound design in this game is god awful, which surprisingly affects a lot of my enjoyment of the game. Black Widow, who is the sniper character in here, she sounds like she's reloading a Nerf gun when she's reloading this high-tech sniper rifle that she shoots. Luna Snow is a healer character. Can heal a teammate by simply pointing and shooting at that teammate, but has almost no audio feedback aside from the generic healing sound that you get from picking up a health item from around the map. This game lacks this sort of oomph to any attack, like this oomph and this weight that is like seemingly non-existent. And there's also no weight to any of the melee attacks. And to be fair, it may have to do with the fact that this is a third-person shooter as opposed to a first-person shooter, right? Where like a first-person, you're head-to-head coming up against these characters, right? But that still doesn't make it okay that mostly every character you play as feels like you're shooting or hitting an enemy character with like scrunched up paper balls. I don't like the map designs, and I remember the announcements of this game making a pretty big emphasis on the destructible environments. Let me tell you, it has made zero impact on any of the matches that I've played. Absolutely zero. So I don't even know what the point is. I think the point was just so that they could say like, "Oh, here, look at how much more variety we have than Overwatch." Which I'll get to that discussion later, I guess. At this by now. Oh, and let's say you're playing as Wolverine, right? And let's say there's a piece of wall that broke off a tower, right? On these destructible environments. Wolverine's a pretty short character, but just jump up, grab the ledge, and fall yourself over. Nope. You cannot ledge grab in this game. If your feet don't touch the platform that you are trying to jump on, you simply are not getting on that platform. I don't know how this is not just something that you straight up do in 2025. It's ridiculous. I'm trying to jump onto platforms and hey, my knees hit the platform, but the character refuses to grab on the goddamn ledge to get herself up there. So you're just gonna have to find the path up to that platform, which may lead to your death. Oh, and while we're on the topic of death, this game has the poorest indicators that you are low on health. As soon as you get down to what I assume is about 25% health, the like the border or the edges of your screen goes slightly red, and you hear what I just assume is a soundboard of a lion roaring.
Wait, what? A lion roaring? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Like
you can't
roar?
even really react to the edge of your screen going red because you're most likely going to be focusing on the center of the screen and trying not to die. And the roar is so comical that sometimes I don't know if I'm low on health or if Black Panther is coming to kill me. Honestly, aside from that ledge thing, nothing about the game is completely egregious, but it's a case of death by 1,000 cuts that I just can't help but feel like, man, they overproduced the hell out of this game to try and make me look past its flaws. This is where I get to the nitpicky, like the Kevin nitpicky part of my rant. Getting into and out of a game is either too much or too little, and what I mean by that is, you load up the game. I'm playing on PC. You load up the game, and similar to every other game, press X to continue or press X to start, whatever, right? Press start to continue. As soon as you click press like any button, any key on your keyboard, the game then goes into a like 5-second cutscene of these characters flying in and out that it feels like the devs are just going, oh yeah, aren't you impressed by how much money we spent on this game? Aren't we so cool? Even when the game ends, it does the thing that, that a lot of shooters do where, time slows down or movement slows down to a crawl and then you get a splash screen, right? Victory, defeat, blah, blah, blah. No, not here. The game slows down to a crawl. It shows you the score, right? It's like, okay, you got 3 and they got 4. And then it fades out. And then here comes another 3 or 5 second cutscene that will then tell you defeat. Who the fuck cares? Why don't you just put that on the screen where you showed me the score? It's like, it's clear that they just overproduced the hell out of this game, because I think it's very obvious that they wanted to eat Overwatch's lunch. And before I get into this section of my rant, you can't skip all that stuff. Thank God. I have gotten into that age where, like, I just, even if it's wasting 5 seconds of my time, that's 5 seconds wasted. Like, that's 5 seconds too much. Like, just you guys know how pissed I get in Mario Party when I see the bot flying across the board, but we go on a brisk walk every single space.
Or more recently for our listeners, when you insisted that Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket's 3 screens that show you what cards you got don't need to be there.
Yep. You hit the nail on the head there. Honestly, like, playing this has made me crave playing the glory days of 2016 when Overwatch originally launched. And I am glad that people are feeling like that when they're playing Marvel Rivals. And I'm also glad that this game will probably be the kick in the ass that Overwatch 2 needs. Because I hear that game is in such dire straits that they're bringing back the 6v6 stuff, and they're giving all the characters for free instead of being locked behind the season pass. I don't think this is a hot take, and I don't really know if I'm breaking any new ground with this. I'm not trying to say anything more aside from the fact that I don't think anybody would be playing this game if it wasn't for the Marvel IP.
Oh, for sure.
Because
you're right.
If you slap any other skin on it, this game doesn't do anything better than Overwatch, in my opinion. As a matter of fact, it does some stuff that's worse. I will probably play this here and there, but I don't see this being added to, my live service emporium or whatever the hell I call that one segment that one time. I just can't with this game. I play it and it's like, man, why can't I do this? Why does this game feel the need to do this? Like, why am I getting killed in 2 shots? It's just really annoying. It's a bummer. I love Marvel. You know, I'm the biggest champion of Marvel Snap that there is. So whatever.
How's that doing, by the way?
Huh?
How's that doing? Still going strong?
It is.
Marvel Snap?
No, it's currently hitting its point where players are understandably fed up with the developers.
Mm-hmm.
But there's supposed to be like a pretty big update sometime this month that hopefully will quell some anger.
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, Ben Brode is typically someone, or at least like in Hearthstone days when he wasn't, before Second Breakfast became a thing. That's what it's called, right? The studio that makes
Second dinner.
Oh, second dinner.
Fourth meal.
Yeah, they were like, while they did obviously do a couple things here and there that really upset the Hearthstone community, they were typically pretty good about directly responding to it and remedying it. You typically to great success. Where I think like eventually Hearthstone did really, really well. I have no idea how it's doing now. I haven't played in at least 4 or 5 years, but there's hope, I would say. But I guess we'll see.
It is the downside of live service games. I mean, you mentioned it in a few different ways. I'm talking about Overwatch and then Snap is like, you could come out with a stellar game and it can have a good life. Like Overwatch, you were saying in 2016, that's 9 years ago now. And it was like top of, cream of the crop back then. But because of this like grind of like having to have live services and making it monetized and in-app payments and battle passes and subscriptions and DLC and yada, you could turn a game that was like, a 9.5 or 10 in most people's mind to like a 6 or 6.5 or 7, just because you have to keep making you have to make changes for the sake of making changes, which means you're gonna eventually hit snags where people like aren't into it. It's so weird. Like if you think about it's just weird because like games used to be like this. I'm guessing like I'm really old now, but games used to be this self-contained thing, and the final product is what you bought on day one. And if it was good, if Ocarina of Time was good when you bought it, it is good today. But like now, it's like if Ocarina of Time was like a hero shooter, let's say, it would have had to be changed like 12 times over by now, and maybe it wouldn't be good anymore, and that could tarnish what was once a great game. It's interesting how it's so. Even Fortnite went through this because they just started rolling out their like OG thing where you could go back to like the original Fortnite island and the original gameplay because they had changed it so much, and then just in this endless pursuit of needing to make more money on the service. So
not everything can be perfect like Splatoon. We get it.
Yeah. But on the flip side, to play both sides of the coin here, on the flip side, a lot of what Ken was saying about like Marvel Rivals, and it sounds like they definitely prioritize flexing the Marvel license over like some gameplay priorities and stuff. There's opportunity if it's a service for them to fix that over time. So it cuts both ways, but it's definitely weird to see like, oh yeah, like the fact that Ken, you're like, yeah, it's reaching the point where like people are getting frustrated with it with Marvel Snap. It's like, we all know that point's gonna come eventually for every live service game, basically. Like Destiny went through it too. Like it's so strange.
Destiny is
just
currently going through it right now.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So it's just weird that's like just baked into the good gaming experience now. Oh yeah, the game's gonna be great, and it's not gonna be great, and then maybe it'll be great again. We'll see. Like that shouldn't have to be the mindset, but it's the reality. Yeah.
Oh, Marvel. Well, I guess to switch topics, I know Jason wants to talk about his speculation.
Oh, it's not mine. I mean, it is mine somewhat. Yeah.
Well, we can't. You know my stance on rumors.
So it's not really a rumor because there's literally images all over the internet that seem legit. So it's really hard to be following the Nintendo news beat and have a podcast that's Nintendo adjacent like ours without addressing the elephant in the room, which is
Nintendo adjacent.
Nintendo adjacent, correct, me. It is hard to do all that and not address all the Switch leaks because it's every day now.
The elephant Mario in the room?
With the elephant Mario in the room. That's good. That was good. Yeah. So the new one that came out yesterday. What if would you guys buy into the idea that the Joy-Con may have or the Switch 2 may have a fourth type of play style, and that might be the new thing? So there's handheld mode.
Input method?
Yeah, or play style in general. Handheld mode, tablet mode, TV mode, mouse mode. So a Joy-Con leaked. The actual final Joy-Con, a picture of it from one of the Chinese social media platforms, complete with all the like FCC and legalese stuff on the back. And what's interesting about it is, as has been rumored, they're magnetized. They just click into the Switch 2, whatever. There is an optical mouse light thing, like little red light, smack in the middle of the Joy-Con. And the Joy-Con looks to have little, like, kind of almost mouse feet on either end of the part that would click into the Switch 2. In other words, it looks like there could very well be a fourth way to play Switch with Switch 2, where you hold the Joy-Con. So, like, if you take your Joy-Con from your Switch and you put it SL and SR tic-tac buttons down, like on the table or whatever, and hold it kind of sideways in your hand, and then rest your finger on the trigger and think about your thumb like kind of holding, like hitting A, B, X, Y, and the thumbstick as if they're on the side. Yeah, it could work as a mouse for pointer controls, for more precise controls in, say, shooters or RTSs, for easier times navigating, like, let's say, the eShop when in handheld mode. It's looking like it's very possible the Switch 2 will have mouse controls in addition to everything else the Switch does, which is very fascinating to me because it kind of makes a lot of sense the more you think about it. And initially I was kind of like, what are you going to use that for? And then I started realizing and started reading and watching videos and stuff of other people's realizations that it's kind of the perfect...
Drinking the Kool-Aid, if you will.
Yeah, a little, but it's kind of the perfect stopgap. So when I initially saw it, I was like, oh, yeah. For like, if you want to do RTSs, if you want to have more precise controls in a shooter. But there's a few things worth noting. One, the games Nintendo has not been able to port to Switch yet heavily rely on precision that will require stylus or like pointer controls. So the biggest example, Super Mario Galaxy 2, wasn't ported to Switch 1 with the rest of the Mario 3D collection. Super Mario Galaxy 2 is the one that has Yoshi's tongue controlled with a pointer thing. The Switch doesn't have a pointer. You can't do the little like jump from thing to thing, jump from like circle to circle with Yoshi's tongue. A mouse with a little like cursor that works as a pointer would allow you to do that. Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. You need the precision control for the stylus. Mario Maker, if they want to do a sequel with more precise controls for handheld. It just like there's so many Pikmin. It just feels like there's a lot of ways they could go with pointer that like allows for an alternative control method in situations where you need it.
They do use the pointer in Mario Galaxy on the Switch. And they also use the pointer for Pikmin. That one definitely would require a lot of precision if you are trying to play it with the pointer.
Yeah.
As well as Metroid Prime Remastered. But to your
they also work with gyro.
Your point, it works, but I mean, I did abandon pointer controls because of the fact that it gets uncalibrated. Like you have to recalibrate it every 5 minutes because as you're playing little by little, it's going to get misaligned and there we go. Yeah, you have to realign it.
Yeah, because it's not a real pointer. It's using gyro to approximate where a pointer would be and then measures the gyro movement to symbolize where the pointer would then go versus if you wanted to use a mouse mode, you just have the pointer. Yeah. And it just seems like the more I think about it, the more it's like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. Not every game's going to use it, but it provides it fills a lot of gaps in what the Switch can do. For example, there are some games on Switch that are motion controlled and they require you to only play in TV mode. Some Mario Party mini games, for example. As much as I hate to say it, the Dolphin emulator, among other things, has demonstrated that you can do motion controls with a pointer subbing in for what would have been gyro controls. So if Nintendo were to say, hey, we have these motion control mini games in some of our games, or these motion control things in some of our games, but if you don't have room to swing your arms like you're on an airplane or something, just put the Joy-Con sideways on the tray of the seat in front of you or on your lap and move it around and make a pointer emulate motion. That's something that addresses a literal gap in what the Switch 1 can do that Switch 2 would be able to resolve, It'd be a lot easier to handle, like I was saying, like the eShop and stuff like that. If you didn't have to like keep, especially like, if you have to like keep moving the stick around or if the touch screen for whatever reason was inaccessible. Like eShop's great on handheld, but not so great on the TV. Mario Party mini games and motion work on TV, but not really on the handheld. This would kind of alleviate both sides of that. It also addresses the other Elephant Mario in the room, which is the Switch 2 is competing against a whole bunch of other handhelds now, like Steam Deck and all those Windows PC handhelds. Like, there's this whole other side of the industry. What?
That's competition?
Yeah, I mean, not yes and no. For a certain demographic, it's not like a mom's gonna get little Timmy, the 5-year-old, a Steam Deck over, let's say, a Switch, one would think. But, you know, some indie games, some more mouse-friendly games, like the Steam Deck has those weird touch things that kind of emulate a mouse. Like, there is now a little more competition on the PC gaming side encroaching on Switch, especially because the libraries are shared. So you can, like, play on your Steam Deck and then go and play on your PC with a proper mouse and kind of get the best of both worlds. If Nintendo wants to, like, compete with that a little more directly, giving a pseudo mouse, or basically a real mouse with a Joy-Con, to let you have those similar experiences on your Switch, does sort of head off some of that competition, or at least create an equilibrium between the two, you know, competing platforms. So another reason that maybe it exists. Plus, just to add a little more fuel to the fires, a couple months ago, and at the time, I think everyone was just like, huh. But Nintendo, someone was digging through the Switch Online source code. They updated the app, and they found that Nintendo was tinkering with the ability to support the Super Nintendo mouse, which is used for Mario Paint, in the emulator for the Super Nintendo. So originally it was always there. You could always support it technically in the emulator. But in September, they changed it to be able to recognize all the control inputs, like control port inputs and some other stuff. Basically, they kind of like made it like make sense in how someone would actually use it versus just kind of be there as a thing the emulator can do. And that was a little weird for them to roll out in September quietly in the background and do nothing with. But if they were, you know, prepping the back end of stuff for Switch 2, which is backwards compatible with Switch and support Switch Online, they've already said that, you know, that Nintendo membership and everything's going to continue in the Switch 2. Suddenly it kind of makes sense that they'd be prepping stuff like Mario Paint emulation in theory. So there's just kind of another thing where it sort of lines up. And people have done like weird stuff where they've like been digging through manifests. I don't even know if this is real, but they've been digging through manifests of like shipping logs of components going to the factories or coming out of the factories of like where Switch 2 is being made, and like mouse feet are literally one of the things on the docket. So like it does seem like those little rubber nubs. So it does seem like there's a whole lot of smoke here that's maybe gonna lead to a fire. So it'll be really interesting, but I'm kind of into it. Like I tried it. I held my Joy-Con like I would a mouse. It's obviously not the most ergonomic thing in the world compared to a real mouse. Like there's a reason mice are as wide as they are for comfort for your hand. But as kind of a stopgap thing, like as like or, you know, if they were to come out with like a mouse grip in the same way the Switch comes with like the Joy-Con grip. So you have like a mouse mode that actually supports a little plastic you could stick it into. Like, it seems very feasible. And even without it, like if you're just kind of playing temporarily the same way you would with like Joy-Cons without the grip sometimes, it works. Like it's not uncomfortable. It's not the most comfortable, but it actually works surprisingly well, ergonomically speaking. So maybe there's something here. I don't know. Like this feels, as much as I love the wireless casting thing that I speculated about last episode, if I'd pick between one of the two, this seems the more probable. Both seem possible. But yeah, I don't know. Would you guys be into like a mouse mode? I could think of a lot of advantages that I could have, like FPSs and stuff, but
I mean, I wouldn't be against it. It just seems like, I'm sure knowing Nintendo, they could have like a fun random WarioWare thing or something. Or if anything, maybe ports of some really old games that we probably wouldn't expect. Like,
or a Mario Paint sequel.
I don't know. Like I wouldn't be opposed to like having like the OG like StarCraft Brood Wars on Switch. That seems like something that they would do instead of porting like a newer one.
I mean, StarCraft has history
nice
with
and
Nintendo.
Novel.
StarCraft 64 was the thing.
Yeah, somehow they wanted to put that on N64 of all things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it seems like a fun thing Nintendo can have on the side, and obviously something that I don't know why. Maybe there's obviously a good reason, but like, you know, modern consoles don't really even try to replicate a mouse, so maybe
They ban
there's
you if you try.
something there.
Yeah, it's true. They literally
ban you to try.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, it just seems like, especially the more I think about it, it's just like, if you're in an airplane, you're trying to do gyro aiming in Splatoon, and the plane's like a little turbulent, that actually messes up your aiming. But if it's just a mouse on your tray on the seat in front of you,
yeah.
there you go. Problem solved. You don't need to bring extra controller. It's just on the Switch already. Like it actually, it feels like the type of thing that would justify, here's a new Switch with a new way to switch up how you play, you know? In the same way that wireless casting kind of could, like, oh, it could be the Wii U again. But like this one really feels like you had 3 modes of switching. Now you got 4. Like it just feels like the rights are just enough of an upsell beyond just graphics, you know? So I'd love if they did SimCity, actually.
Bring on Red Steel 3, baby.
Honestly, I would. If it's like Red Steel 2, they could do some interesting stuff with. I would be okay with it. I know you're saying it jokingly, but I'd be okay with it. That's assuming Ubisoft even exists by then. They're going through all sorts of turmoil, but yeah. I was gonna say SimCity. That's another one I'd love to see because that made no sense to me on a console before. But like, I would totally do SimCity with like a Joy-Con mouse. And of course, the thing is, it would still support the other modes. So if people don't want to use the mouse, they could still use the joystick. They could still use motion, whatever. It would just be like another more precise way should you choose to enable it. Unless some games, specifically use it, but. Yeah, so we'll see. I do think the big thing is, so every episode now we're kind of like, oh, maybe it has this, maybe it has this. Nintendo's going to have to announce this thing soon because they're getting themselves in a bit of a weird quagmire where the speculation's so running rampant and stuff is leaking so much that, and some of the speculation based on the leaks is going to be wrong, that when the Switch 2 is finally announced, it's not going to be a slam dunk announcement. Like Switch 1... Wii U was whatever it was, and it was dying. And then Nintendo's like, we're going to have a hybrid console. And then they're like, by the way, it's actually 3 different ways to play. And by the way, the controllers pop up. And they kept just being like, look at this other thing it does, and this other thing, and this other thing. And people are just like, whoa, there's a lot going on here. This is really cool. Anything they do with Switch 2 is not going to have one of the things people are speculating. So it's not going to be, wow, it does more than I thought. It's now going to be, oh, it doesn't do that thing that we were hoping it would do. And that makes it a tougher sell. Because people are now, and I'm contributing to this, getting into these mindsets of, oh, a mouse would be cool. Wireless casting would be cool. AI 4K upscaling would be cool, which, by the way, is back in play. Apparently, Nintendo does have a patent on that just got publicly shared the other week using NVIDIA's upscaler. So, like, all these things, like, everything people hoped the Switch Pro would be, and then Switch Pro never happened. Now, if it doesn't come to Switch 2, if the dock doesn't output in 4K, if the screen isn't 10, LCD versus whatever it is, it's now points off the system, not points like extra credit on top of what people are already hoping for. So it's going to be a harder initial debut. Like, it won't be as positive because people are going to already be like, oh, what was the optical thing for? It clearly wasn't a mouse. So that's going to be interesting for Nintendo to have to navigate because they don't have basically the 100% all praise that they did for the Switch. And it'll still do well, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely not going to be as like, oh my God, as the Switch was, because the leaks have gotten so bad, the speculation has run so wild. There's also evidence of different things that may or may not pan out. So yeah, it's definitely, it's a different ball game this time around. So I'm curious how Nintendo like navigates that, if they're able to navigate that. Like, are they going to start, like, the leaks are getting bad, are they going to just like announce the thing in the next few weeks? I mean, I don't think they're going to announce it this week at CES, although a Joy-Con mouse is a very gadgety thing that feels appropriate for CES. But I wonder if we're going to see it in the next few weeks, or they going to wait till later. They said before the end of the fiscal year, so technically they have till end of March to announce this thing. But the longer they wait, the more people are going to like spin up these crazy theories, and I don't know. They're
and then be disappointed by their own crazy expectations.
Yes, exactly. But the reality is, that's the narrative they have to deal with. I mean, I go on, Twitter, and trending for me every day is Switch 2 with thousands of posts. And whether Nintendo likes it or not, it's gonna, that shapes some of the narrative. They don't get to control that fully. So they kind of got to figure out how to navigate that, I guess. And I know I was saying, like last episode, they're in a good position where the hardware is mostly the same. It's the software that'll be interesting. So if anything leaks on the hardware side, whatever. But when I said that, I also didn't expect there to be an optical mouse built into a Joy-Con potentially. So now it's kind of like, oh, well, here's the hardware gimmick. here's the new thing. If that's now leaking and that turns out to be a bigger thing than the reality of Nintendo just being like, oh, it's a 4K Switch, it's going to be interesting to see how reactions go. It won't be negative, but it's not going to be as rosy for Nintendo as it was during the first generation of Switch, I feel like. At the launch, I mean. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. But I'm excited to see what it is. I'm kind of hoping it's the mouse just because, if nothing else, like you said, Angel, a WarioWare minigame would be fun based on it. But yeah, that was your daily dose, your episode dose of Switch 2 speculation.
Yeah. Lots to ponder, lots to be excited for. But, I mean, Nintendo will have to say something at some point. We'll see what they say.
Yeah, and if they don't, the third parties are going to start leaking even more. I mean, we're at the point where they're trying to get ahead of each other just for marketing. So they could be the cool third party with the cool accessory for the cool system. So someone's going to say something soon, whether it's Nintendo or not.
I guess this leaves us with maybe our last topic, or I think I might have done something out of order based on the comments here. But it looks like there's potentially one more movie that Kevin watched.
Oh, not just one. About. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh,
six
that's
movies.
Right.
6 movies.
Did you say
Kevin
7
Palooza.
movies?
I said 6.
Oh, 6. Oh, that's
technically,
so
technically it's 5 plus Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
Okay.
Okay. Sort of like quick fire on some of these, especially the bottom 3. And this isn't necessarily in the order that I watch these movies. This is from my least favorite movie I watched over the break to my favorite. Okay. Starting at the bottom with Fury. Do either of you guys know this movie?
Is that older?
Correct. 2014 David Ayer movie. The director of one of my most hated movies, Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
No, I think it came out after.
Oh, did it? I thought
Suicide
for some reason it was first.
Suicide Squad was 2013, I think.
Oh, okay. So this was his when the Russo
brothers
did...
it was prior. It was prior.
Okay, yeah, because I thought everyone would be like, "Oh, David Ayer, who previously did Fury, is now doing Suicide Squad." Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So Fury, 2.5 out of 5. It's about a tank crew in World War II, led by Brad Pitt. It's an okay movie. I would describe this movie as a dadcore movie. Something that your father's gonna really, really enjoy. It's his type of movie. He really liked it. I saw it with my dad. He
really liked it?
He really liked it.
Okay, right. There you go. Yeah.
Moving on to the next one. Carry On.
I want to see this one, even though I've heard it's over the top.
Yeah. Same rating as Fury. 2.5 out of 5. Movie released on Netflix in December. Also known as the TSA Propaganda movie. It stars what's his name from the Kingsman movies as a TSA cop, who
also
was
from
essentially
Tetris.
Yep. Also from Tetris.
Taron.
Eggsy. Eggsy.
Yeah.
Taron Eggsy. Yeah. He's a TSA agent who was being blackmailed by Jason Bateman of all people into letting a bomb pass through a TSA check during Christmas time.
He was able to take him seriously. I guess he saw Ozark.
Yeah, he saw Ozark and got scared. Yeah.
This movie I would describe as momcore. Personally, my mom loves action thrillers, and I can just tolerate them. Like anything with Liam Neeson, she eats up like crazy. And funnily enough, the director behind this one, behind Carry On, he did a string of action thrillers with Liam Neeson, for years after Liam Neeson came back with Taken. Yeah, action thrillers just don't do it for me. I either need the movie to be straight up action or just straight up thriller. I hate the mix of the two. Next movie, Sonic the Hedgehog, 3 out of 5. All I put was Live and Learn under it. It was a fine movie. Finally got around to watching Dune Part 2. This I'm giving a score of 4 out of 5. I watched this movie the way the film gods intended me to watch this movie, at home on my ultra widescreen monitor while I was on a treadmill.
In one sitting?
In one sitting.
Damn.
What I love
halfway through.
What I love the most about these movies, or these Dune movies, and I guess by proxy the books, even though I will never read them. Have you seen that Dune book. It's like 800 pages long.
Yeah,
Anyways,
it's. I mean, the movie's long too, but yeah, it's yeah.
What I like about these movies is that they are first and foremost science fiction movies before they get into the action. Like in this movie, there are maybe 2 huge bombastic set pieces. Like there's also the time where, T-Shal and Zendaya are sabotaging those harvesters on Arrakis, and there's explosions there for sure, but like it's nothing that's like too out there. Like even in the first movie, there was maybe 2 set pieces in that one. Either way, really dug this movie. I'm definitely not going to make the mistake of not seeing this in theaters because this would have been awesome to see in IMAX. I saw Dune 1 at the Chinese theater with Elvis in IMAX, and for some reason, I just didn't see this one in theaters at all. So
I also saw Dune 1 at the growing Chinese theater, but not with the 2 of you. That's a funny coincidence.
Yeah.
I just finished Dune. Oh, no, I guess that was something I finished during the break. I think I watched it over like 5 different times, maybe like 20-minute bits. It was good.
Yeah, like I said, they're not science. They're not like Star Wars. They're more.
They're not blockbuster as much as they're promoted as such. I feel like they're not blockbuster movies. They're like or not bombastic. They're just like stories. Like I don't know how better describe. You know what I mean? Yeah, there's a lot
which I really like. It's a different change of pace for like science fiction.
Yeah.
Films. On to my next favorite movie. I finally got around to watching Longlegs. This movie has been hyped up and down by critics, saying it's the scariest movie in years. And on the flip side, you have general audiences who say this movie ain't shit, nothing happens. It's just one of those other what's the term that they use in Scream? Elevator horror. Oh, it's another, pretentious elevator horror movie. I don't care. I loved this movie. It's definitely not the scariest movie I've seen in years. I'd even argue that Alien Romulus was scarier, and that movie wasn't scary at all. I can't stand what I call cheap horror, where movies just do jump scare after jump scare in order to shock the system. More than anything, I love my horror movies to instill me with a sense of dread that makes it miserable to watch the movie. And this is probably one of the most dreadful movies I've seen. Up there with Hereditary, The Witch, Midsommar, pretty much anything that was from A24. Yep, another A24 banger right there, Uncut Gems.
Oh, Uncut Gems. I love Uncut Gems.
Yeah. In this movie, we follow a female FBI agent, and that is important, hunting down a serial killer that's played by Nicolas Cage, but slowly, and I do mean slowly, we're given some more insight into these killings, and we find out, hey, these aren't just serial kills. There's like something way more sinister behind the scenes, which all leads into this ending that has polarized a lot of people, even from people that liked the movie. I love the ending. I keep replaying that ending in my head like over and over because it's just, it's a doozy. I love this movie. The director of this movie is the son of Anthony Perkins, who played Norman Bates in Psycho way back when. His name is Osgood Perkins, and right after this movie came out, almost like within the week that it was released in theaters, Neon, who is the distributor of this movie, which they also distributed Parasite, announced and then released the trailer to his next movie, The Monkey, which is based off a bunch of Stephen King short stories. I refused to watch that trailer until I saw Longlegs, and immediately, as soon as I was done with Longlegs, I saw the trailer for The Monkey, and oh my god, I cannot wait to see that movie. It looks so insane and hilarious at the same time, and thankfully it comes out next month because I cannot wait to see that movie. I ended up scoring Longlegs 4.5. Yes. Yep. And then last but not least, my favorite movie that I saw over the break that earned the coveted 5 out of 5 in my book is this Korean movie called Burning. This was released back in 2018, and I'm probably gonna butcher the pronunciations here, so I'm sorry to any Korean listeners that we may have. It follows our male lead, Jung Soo, who I think he's in his like mid 20s or late 20s, and he's just like an everyman, Korean, everyman who actually reunites with a female childhood friend of his. Her name is Hey Mi. They become reacquainted. Then she goes off on a trip to Africa, and when she returns to Korea, she comes back with someone she became friends with over there, played by the one and only invincible Glenn from The Walking Dead, Steven Yeun. And from the get-go, something is just off about Ben's presence, and it slowly simmers to a boil, where I'm not going to exactly spoil what happens, but a mystery arises like halfway through the movie that Jong-soo then has to investigate. True to its title, this is a slow burn of a movie with an ending that probably rivals Longlegs' ending and just how much space it takes in my mind. This movie's gorgeous. It's not intense the way a Longlegs is. And it doesn't necessarily instill dread like Longlegs. This is not a horror movie. This is definitely more of a psychological, I wouldn't even say thriller. It's more like a psychological drama, but it's probably going to break into my top 10 movies of all time. Like once I start sorting that list out. It's on Netflix. It leaves Netflix at the end of the month. So if you got 2 hours to kill and you are like interested in like a slow burn mystery, like you would for like a Severance, I would highly suggest this movie. Burning, loved it. And that is everything that I consumed over the break.
I have to check that out. Also, my was more like, oh, cool, Steven Yeun, not like Steven Yeun. It was just that's cool, it's Steven Yeun.
No, they're both valid.
Clarify that. Yeah, they are both valid, but I just wanted to clarify that real quick.
Damn, that is quite the movie marathon.
Someone's been busy.
I guess
how much more productive.
I was very close to watching a couple more. I didn't get around to watching Nosferatu.
I saw that.
And I not that I've been on a kick of this actor, but it's like he's been everywhere. I should probably see this because it was critically acclaimed. I want to see Hitman starring Glenn Powell, but I just never got around to it.
Oh, that one's pretty fun, actually. Yeah, I saw that. It's on Netflix, right?
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Yeah, I saw that
not
a while ago.
Related to the game?
Absolutely not.
Related to... Yeah, no.
It's called The Hitman, not Hitman.
I don't know. I don't know if you have anything to say about it, but I guess Jason and I did see Kraven.
We did.
2 days ago.
Kraven the Hunter. I saw Kraven and Nosferatu a day apart, and I did not realize Aaron Taylor Johnson was in both, and I did not realize both were him against Eastern European accented bad guys, and it was an interesting double feature I made for myself.
Yeah, so if you're craving a great time, I guess I probably wouldn't go watch this movie. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. It was just like, honestly, it was kind of boring.
It
like,
was.
I feel like it didn't do anything you haven't seen in another movie. The fact that it was just serviceable, I feel like subjectively makes it kind of like a better movie structurally than Madam Web. But at least Madam Web was very entertaining. I was falling asleep during this movie. The first third.
Wow.
The problem with Kraven, and one of the memorable lines from the movie is that's Kraven with a K, as if anyone needed to know. One of the problems with Kraven is that it was, to Angel's point, fine. So it didn't go to the absurd, ridiculous weirdness of Madam Web, and it didn't go into the caliber of being good. It just kind of was. And there were a couple weird, and there were a couple weird moments. Like there's a really weird ADR moment where, like, first of all, the character said something completely flat that didn't even sound like they were acting, but also the mouth on screen didn't seem like it was synced up with what they were saying. So that was kind of weird. So there are a couple of technical things like that. But
they learned nothing from Madam Web.
Yeah, I was gonna say it got a little something from Madam Web because it reminded me of the PS2 era villain of Madam Web. But like, yeah, it was surprisingly adequate, which made it worse in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they also have this villain called the Foreigner, which like I asked another one of our friends who's more versed in the Marvel verse, and they didn't know who that was.
His
But
gimmick,
I don't know.
the foreigner's gimmick is so he counts to 3, and when he counts 1, 2, 3, in between each, he moves around you. And then he hits you or whatever because you don't know where he is. And then he goes, "I'll be seeing you," and leaves. I don't know what the
Like it's
tagline
implied that
means.
he
I
has like
don't
super speed,
know.
but
Yeah, at one point they show
like
him do kind of a
the
Quicksilver style thing, but like I still don't understand what "I'll be seeing you" is supposed to mean.
yeah,
And I don't know
because
why he says it
every time
4 times in the movie. But yeah.
and every time he does this, he takes his sunglasses off, except for one time where he doesn't do it. So then it's like, oh, I guess he doesn't need to use his eyes because it's almost implied that he's like stunning you, but they do like the Quicksilver kind of whooshy motion, and during
Yeah.
that time he'll like grab your gun and
Well,
shoot
that's
you
what's
with your
interesting.
own
So
gun or stab you with your own.
the first 3 times they show him, they do this kind of like he takes the sunglasses off and does kind of like not even a Quicksilver motion. He does kind of like they do like a shimmer effect, and he just disappears and then appears somewhere else. And only on the final time do they show a full on Quicksilver sequence where you see him like kind of everyone's in slow motion or frozen. He's kind of going around and tinkering with what they're holding and that sort of thing. So I don't even know what his power is. Is it he like teleports, or is it that he runs? And where is he seeing you? And why is he seeing you? The
Yeah,
tagline drives me crazy. I don't know what it means. 2-hour
and
movie, don't
essentially
know what it
like,
means.
and then the other like weird thing about this movie is that the main character Craven, like he talks himself up and is shown to basically be like unkillable, like perfect, amazing fighter, just can't do no wrong, isn't really ever in any danger until suddenly they are like, they build up this foreigner dude to be this very powerful villain because we don't know like what the heck his powers are. He and spoiler alert, for anyone that actually cares, like he basically kills Craven. Like Craven doesn't stand a chance like at all, and just out of nowhere, like he just gets shot in the head with a spear gun. Like
Oh yeah.
you
And the
know,
person who
like
shoots
like this
him,
like this
the
character
person
that
who
you think is
shoots
gonna
him
be
then
killed in a
says,
creative way,
but the person who
the
shoots
spear
him,
gun
who's a
kill.
character you meet earlier in the movie in a different context, then goes, "I have secrets too." And you're like, "What?"
Yeah,
So
earlier
that
in the
happens.
movie,
Oh,
she grabs a spear gun or like a bow and arrow, and she thought like, oh yeah, they're like, oh, be careful with that. Like, oh, don't worry, I did this in summer camp.
I took
And then
archery in summer camp.
I guess that
Yeah.
was the payoff. And then like, oh, that was some summer camp, yeah.
Yeah, but she
But
says
that sounds
but that's the
terrible.
thing. She says I have secrets too, except she previously told him the secret, which is she took archery in summer camp. So there wasn't even a secret that she had, if you think about it.
well, I mean, it's
But
implied, maybe.
the closest
But
thing, though, to Man Web level, if we're gonna get into that, is besides everything else we just said. So in the beginning, the same character who is the shoots him in the head with the spear, the crossbow shooter. She is. We're just spoiling the movie, whatever. Her name's Calypso. And she is, it's a scene where she's a kid with her grandmother, and her grandmother's kind of like this mystical person, and they're on this, like an African, like Ghanan plain or something, like the plains of Ghana. And her grandmother gives her like tarot cards and is giving her all this exposition about like this potion and these tarot cards and blah, blah, blah. And among other things, she says Calypso every other sentence in the entire scene. So she's like, blah, 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 Calypso, da, 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 Calypso. So you know her name's Calypso. You learn that very quickly. But the tarot
We're
card she
sure
gives
her name is Calypso.
her name is, I think it's Calypso.
We're,
Now I'm
we're
second.
sure.
I'm pretty sure. Is it not? Angel, help me. Did I get it wrong even though I heard it 8 times?
yep,
Is it not Calypso?
nope.
Wait, what is it?
Night night, it is.
Oh God, I was like, is my reality melting? Anyway, so she says Calypso a bunch, but then she gives her a tarot card. One of the tarot cards is literally a lion carrying a boy in its mouth. Flash forward 3 minutes later, and there's Craven's origin story. A lion carrying Craven in his mouth. It's just like, that is so on the nose. And like, it's not even like a payoff. It's not even like, oh, it's a symbolism. It's just like, here's a random tarot card that randomly has a lion with a guy in its mouth. And then here's the guy in the lion's mouth. Like, it was just, it was so like blunt. I don't know how better to describe it.
Yeah, and at some point, this is when Kraven was a teen. I forget his name. It's like
Sergey.
Normal Sergey Kraven. Yeah, Sergey Kravenov.
Yeah, Sergey.
And he has like a brother named Dmitry Kravenov. And I guess at some point he just like runs away, and he just comes back once in a while. But no one knows who the hunter is that goes by Kraven, and even like the brother who knows that his brother like went away, and they have like a hunter with his dad like kind of like background. He's like, Kravenoff. I wonder. Nope, like it was like Kraven.
The other great part.
Like that can't be him. It's just a myth. It's just a story.
The other great part. So one of the other big bads, Rhino, learns the identity of Kraven because he sent a video where it zooms in on Sergey's face and it says Sergey Kragenov, alias Kraven the Hunter. And he's like, oh that's who it is. That's it. Now, it turns out there's someone that gave him the video, supposedly. So there's a whole nother story there. But, like, if I'm a guy with a lot of assets and goals and evil aspirations, will I take a video at face value? And when it's like, that guy's Kraven, I'll be like, sure is. Time to reorient all my resources. Like, I don't know. It felt a little, it's a little bit much.
Yeah. I don't know how much they paid Russell Crowe, but, I mean, he was in it.
He was in it a lot. He did Russell an Eastern European accent throughout the whole thing.
Bag. Right?
Yeah, he was hamming it up a little.
Russell Crowe can do whatever he wants after The Nice Guys. Okay.
Yeah, no, it was. He definitely was doing an accent. That's for sure. Everyone in that movie felt like they were doing it. Also, I'm trying to figure out. So Sergey calls his brother Dmitry Demo for short, right? It was Demo, right, Angel? Where's the O in that name? Dmitry. Shouldn't it be Demi or Demi? Why was he calling him Demo? What's the O?
I don't know.
Or was I mishearing it? I feel like he's calling him Demo.
Didn't even catch him that he called him Demo.
I feel like he called him that like 8, 10, 12. But that guy also thought Calypso was named Calypso, and I was right, so it probably is Demo. But yeah, it was an experience. Also strange, R-rated movie, pretty gory. Person next to me had their like 2-year-old on their lap the entire movie.
You saw this in theaters?
We saw it in theaters, A-list.
I thought you saw this digitally. Oh my god!
So, and that's the plot twist we were really waiting to tell you. No,
I will say it had some pretty cool creative kills towards the end when Kraven was setting traps for some people that were trying to hunt him down.
That's true.
Like there were like a couple months that were like, oh wow, that was a unique way to.
There were flashes of inspiration, and there was no line delivered as badly as the Amazon spider. What's the line with the spiders in the Amazon?
It wasn't in the movie, so technically you can't count it.
That line wasn't in the movie?
No. It was literally just for the trailer.
Right.
Well, anyway. there was a line that like was literally like, I do not like the sound of this.
Oh yeah, that was the bad ADR I was talking about before, with the not synced mouth. Yeah. But yeah, we saw it in theaters because we wanted to see a movie. We had plans to see a movie. It was gonna be Sonic, but then we already saw Sonic. So we were literally like trying to figure out what to see, and we settled on Kraven. But the beauty of AMC A-list and similar subscription,
I voted for the live-action Persona movie, but it was shot down.
To be clear, not at all Persona the game. It was about a photographer.
But it was called Persona.
And it was in black and white. I think.
I think it predates all the games.
It's some art. It's some like indie
by a century
of some sort. Yeah, it's some old-timey. Anyway, so we saw Kraven in theaters with a 2-year-old.
Maybe it's what inspired Persona.
Maybe. We'll never know because we never saw it.
I have the SSU Wikipedia page up right now.
The now dead SSU?
It's still not confirmed.
I thought Sony said it's done for now. Like they've given up for now.
They, as in, probably on hiatus, but not officially dead. Technically,
there was no
Spider-Noir is still technically part of this universe.
There was no post-credit scene to Kraven, though, so they're not really setting anything up at this point.
I mean, the way the movie ended kind of set some stuff up. I mean, his brother became a chameleon.
Yeah. Hey, spoilers!
You don't
oh no!
An after credit scene does not. I mean, I know that's like nowadays. I mean, sometimes that means nothing. I mean,
no, you're right. You're right.
Anyways, the 6 movies: Venom, Let There Be Carnage, Morbius, Madam Web, Venom: The Last Dance, which I still have not seen, and Kraven the Hunter, which I still have not seen.
Crazy that 3 of those came out this past year alone.
Of these 6 movies, what do you think is the highest rated?
Venom
1?
No, actually, I'm going to say
Let
Venom
There
2
Be
or
Carnage.
3.
Venom 2 at a 58%. And Venom The Last Dance has a 40%. And considering that I hated Let There Be Carnage, I'm not expecting a lot from The Last Dance. Madam Web is the lowest reviewed one. I smell misogyny, fellas, at an 11%, while Morbius and Kraven are pretty much at 15-16%. Kraven the Hunter, surprisingly, the biggest bomb out of all of these movies. With
there was
58 million worldwide versus Madam Web's 100 million worldwide.
There was a
and more theaters and a bigger budget.
There was a quote from the CEO of Sony, who's basically like, "These movies are like, it's out of our hands. The critics didn't like them.
That dude's gaslighting himself.
I know. He was like, they're good movies, but critics are out to get, the press are out to get us. They won't do well as a result." It's like, are they good movies? Are they?
It was his decision to re-release Morbius.
Yeah. So, also, to really put a pin on this and not scare people, so the producer of this universe and Kraven the Hunter. No, the producer of Kraven the Hunter, among others, Avi Arad.
Avi Arad. Yeah.
And you know what else he's producing, folks? The Legend of Zelda. Yeah, fantastic. That deafening silence is the fear that just sunk into every Nintendo fan's heart. He is the guy co-producing Zelda with Miyamoto. So, there was a crossbow in this movie. I guess that's kind of Zelda-like.
He also produced Borderlands. So,
yep. Hey. On the flip side, Wes Bell, director of a pretty good Planet of the Apes that came out last year, is the director of Zelda. So it's kind of a crapshoot of how it's going to turn out. But him being the producer,
I still need to see that movie.
I liked it, but him being the producer is a little concerning. But also, Nintendo's tight reins on their own properties gives me a little hope that'll be okay. Producer just means he throws money at it, so it should hopefully be okay. But we'll not to end the episode on an ominous note, but yeah, Kraven's producer is the Zelda producer.
For now.
You think he's going to get fired?
After seeing,
good one.
I mean, after Nintendo sees the numbers, I don't know. But we'll see.
But he also produced the early Spider-Man movies at Sony that did gangbusters. So
I think he's produced every Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, he has. So technically, yeah, I'm sure Nintendo's like, whatever.
Either produced or executive produced every Spider-Man movie, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think you're right. Him and
that's been released in theaters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as Jason said, we reached the end, so I will throw it back at him for the house.
Oh, right. Show notes. All right. So, big year for things to talk about coming up. Severance Season 2, Switch 2, other things that ended 2. To make sure you don't miss our thoughts on any of it, you can subscribe to all. What was that sound I made? You can subscribe to our podcast on all the services of your choosing. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on Spotify. We are on Amazon Music. We are on Pandora. We are on TuneIn. We are on iHeartRadio. We are on YouTube at Ram Nintendo. We are also available on Twitter at Ram Nintendo to make sure you don't miss an episode that way. Or our individual thoughts can be found on the internet. INJSR7 on Twitter and Threads. Kevin is KVN Gomi on Twitter and Blue Sky. And Angel is World of Weros with an S at the end over on Instagram. Back to you, Mr. Angel.
And back to Kevin for the final word.
Damn it, I actually had something lined up in my head, but I totally forgot it.